Shalom YouTube! Nintendo Gen 64 is here, and welcome to the Week 2 weekly roundup for the Super Crash League. It has been a fantastic week. We have had 9 incredible races uploaded, and let's talk about them. Let's talk about what's going on. What is happening in the Super Crash League? So, first things first. We are at the end of basically the second week. The second week technically ended on Sunday, but we're doing these sort of like, on Wednesday, these roundups, which means that there is only 1 week left of the Super Crash League first round, which means that essentially we set the deadline to have your races planned at 11:59 p.m. Wednesday the 27th of October, which is basically, I'm recording this about 10:30 p.m. at night now, my time. It's about an hour and a half, and I'm going to be asking everyone in the server if you've recorded your races, if you've planned your races, your final races, and then you have until the 31st of October to have them recorded. So we're planning on getting the first round done in about 3 weeks total, and that's an incredible achievement, and so far we're tracking very well. As I said, we had about 9 races done this week. And we've got a few more to come. But yeah, like, honestly, I'm very, very happy with how the first round is tracking. We've had a few people confirm as going through. We've had a few eliminations. So, let's talk about that. Let's go through each race, and we'll start with the first race uploaded, which was Smudgy Pop versus the Psychic Gamer. This was a CTR race, as you can see there. Smudgy unfortunately couldn't clutch out a win over the Psychic Gamer, who once again proved that he is a top contender in this tournament. We move on. We had Muddy Maestro versus Bobbledink in a Crash Bash speedrun. This was a fantastic race. As you can see, I watched every second of it, all 1 hour 37 minutes. Muddy Maestro getting a win there. Interestingly, Muddy Maestro, who previously had said he never won a single Crash Bandicoot speedrun, has now actually won all 3 of his round 1 matches, which is a pretty big deal for the ISGP champion. Toonie SA, I was about to say unfortunately, but Toonie SA getting a big win over Yes Wally 1. In my opinion, the win Toonie got over Wally in this race here essentially sealed the deal that I think Toonie may have a good chance of going through to round 2, and Wally will have to actually get a win over MTB if he wants to, if his hopes of staying in the Super Crash League are to be realized. Crystal Fissure and Yogamonyo had an excellent Crash Bash speedrun, and Yogamonyo won by about 20 seconds in a really, really close race. I think Crystal Fissure had problems with Banzai Bonsai at the very end there, and Yoga was able to just edge out a win over him. Ellie and Danta in a race to, I believe this one was to get every box in a bonus round, and if you got a box in a level, you had to crawl or something like that. There was an element of crawl percent in this race. That's why it's a 50-minute race. And Danta getting a victory. Then we had Garth versus Toto. Toto getting a big win over Garth, and I think that win might be enough to set him to be the top of his group, potentially. Then we had Mayo Doctor getting another victory here. I think Mayo Doctor had previously lost to Dr. Monkey Man, but with this victory here, essentially seals the deal that he will be going through second place. And Danta Fanta, I think, will be eliminated. But we'll have an examination of all that very shortly. Lucas Bolton, a win over Fremond. Was it in doubt? I don't think so. And King Europe 1 versus Muddy Maestro in a fantastic Crash Team Racing Nitro-fueled speedrun in the very pure essence of what a race is, what a Crash Bandicoot race is. So look, honestly, I think we've had a lot of entertaining races this week. No 5-hour crawl percent, thank God, races, because look, I try my hardest to watch pretty much every single race that gets uploaded, the entire thing. But 5 hours is a bit of an ask for me sometimes. So if you want to make sure that I watch all your races, make sure that you don't make them 5 hours long. That's a hot tip here from Nintendo Gen 64. It's my big tip. So let's go to the wiki and let's see how the group standings are going as of the end of week 2. Let us jump over here and we will begin with Group A. So, Group A currently, as it stands, all 3 Group A races have been Muddy Maestro races, and all 3 Muddy Maestro races, have been a victory for Muddy Maestro. He is doing incredibly well. As I said, he's the current ISGP champion. And going into this tournament, he made a bit of a joke how he had never won a single Crash Bandicoot speedrun before, but I think he's going to do pretty well. And honestly, it'd be interesting to see how he does in round 2. I think he's had a pretty, I wouldn't say he's had the hardest group. This is definitely not something I would call the group of death, Group A. But yeah, look, it's going to be an interesting test, especially since he'll be racing a second placer, like a runner-up, because he's confirmed as winning his group because he won all 3 of his races. So that's interesting. Group B, look at this. Only 2 races done so far. And look, if there's not a race, I mean, like, I'm thinking we're going to probably see some Solution X's for this group. Currently, as it stands, Marcus Terry Bedford and Tooney SA are going to go through. So we'll have to see if there's any Solution X's. Yeah, only 2 races done. A pretty poor performance overall, considering we've had 2 weeks so far. And you'll see, I know Wally was like a bit sick for some of the time, but I think you'll see, like, you know, there are some groups that are basically done entirely. So Group B lagging a bit behind. Yeah, I mean, and in, you know, Group B in the last like couple days with Group B, not a single race has been uploaded or even done, as far as I know. So you got to pull yourself together, Group B. I want to see some big things from you in the next 7 days. All right, so where was I? Let's get back to the wiki. Group C is pretty much completely done. Only 2 races left between Garth and Smudgy and Toto and Smudgy. Very crucial races, actually, because as you can see, Psychic Gamer has done all 3 of his races. He's on 12 points. If Toto can beat Smudgy, Toto will actually usurp that and get the #1 spot in Group C. So that'll be interesting to see. However, if Smudgy can get 2 wins, a win over Toto and a win over Garth, then it'll be an interesting situation because it will potentially be a triple threat in Group C. So watch this space closely. Group C is still a lot of action to happen there, so I'm excited for that. Group D is basically finished. No, it is finished, sorry. All 6 races are done. All 6 out of 6. Dr. Monkey Man and Mayo Doctor will be progressing as they have the most points. You can see there 15 points for Dr. Monkey Man and 12 points for Mayo, so good stuff there. Group E has done 5 out of 6 races. Now, an interesting situation has come up. We have currently got a tie on points between Crystal Fissure and Lucas Bolton, so that's interesting. Now, if Yogamonyo beats Fremond, we will enter a triple threat for Group E, and we could have a crazy situation. We could have, you know, Crystal Fissure and Lucas could go through, Yogamonyo and Crystal Fissure, Yogamonyo and Lucas. It's a very interesting situation that will arise, because this will be one of those triple threats where the top 2 go through, and depending on which order they finish in will depend on where they end up in the second round. So all of that stuff is very, very exciting. So look, we are tracking very well with the Super Crash League. I'm very happy with how things are going. Lots of groups are pretty much getting towards the point where we can kind of call who's going to go through. Group B has a lot of work to do to catch up, but I think they can do it. I know they've got at least 1 Solution X between Crosstown Express and Yes Wally 1 planned, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, look, I'm very excited. So I may as well announce it here because we're getting towards the point where people who are in round 2 can start thinking about this, and people who are potentially qualifying for round 2 can start thinking about this. So we are going to change what the eligible games are for the second round, because as you can probably tell, there are lots of Crash Bandicoot games. Lots of Crash Bandicoot games play a lot differently from each other, and in round 2 you only really have your race and then the Shag and Wagon. You don't get like these 3 opportunities to kind of prove yourself. So this is what we're going to do. The eligible games for round 2 are Crash Bandicoot 1, Crash Bandicoot 2, Crash Bandicoot 3, and their Insane Trilogy counterparts. So you can play the original ones on PlayStation, or you can play the Insane Trilogy. Crash Wrath of Cortex, Crash Twin Sanity, and Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time. So those are the eligible games. So we're not going to include Crash Team Racing or Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled in the second round. This is purely just because the playstyle for that differs so heavily from the other games. And Crash Bash. Crash Bash will not be in round 2 either, nor will any of those GBA games. The only games that you can play in round 2 will be the Crash Bandicoot Original Trilogy on PlayStation 1, the Insane Trilogy on PS4, or if you've got the PS5 version, as long as the versions are the same. You can play Wrath of Cortex, you can play Twinsanity, and you can play Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time. So we're sticking to the 3D slash 2.5D platformers for round 2. So I'm saying that here. We'll probably put an announcement in the server, but I'm saying it here first. So if you watch this video, good for you. You will know before anyone else does. So that pretty much is all to say for this week. So far, I can just say that the people who've qualified for round 2 are Muddy Maestro, Dr. Monkey Man. Mayo Doctor has also qualified, but I can't put his name in this list because round 2 will be first places versus second places, and it'll be like a random draw. So I'm just putting the first places on this side here first, and then we'll fill that side in once we know the order in which they finish. So that's pretty much it for this week's weekly roundup. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you continue to enjoy the Super Crash League. We've got one more week left of round 1. Don't forget, coming later in the week, I think it's Friday morning at 3 a.m. our time, Australia. So that'll be like Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, American time. Will be part 2 of the history of I'm a Speedrunner. This part included myself, Crystal Fissure, Connor David, and Al Malloy. It's an excellent watch. I highly recommend it. We touch on a lot of very interesting topics. So you'll see that on the channel later in the week. I expect probably another International Spyro Grand podcast, probably hosted by Amelia, to be uploaded at some point. And then we'll be back next week. Crystal Fissure will be here with the round 1 roundup. And I will do the round 2 draw as soon as we know who's going to be in round 2. So, without any further ado, thank you very much for watching. And as I always say, farewell for now, but not forever. I'll see you later, guys.